everyone, today I'm going to be making some beeswax bowl covers. They're great to cover any leftovers or snacks or anything really. They're just beeswax and fabric, that's all they are. So they're 100% food safe. There are no issues with that. You can make them with any kind of fabric that you like, and let me show you a few of the things you're going to need. Hi, for this part you are going to need a few different items that you probably already have lying around the house. I'm all about efficiency and not about the latest new gadget. I just wanted to be fun and simple. And so we're going to start with, we're going to need some different fabrics, or you can use all the same. Muslin works really great if you have a really thin muslin with a nice tight weave. That works really good if you're concerned about dyes touching your food or anything. These are all encased in beeswax when you get done. I've never had a problem with any dye seepage or anything like that. So I would say, you know, it's totally your choice. If you don't want dyes, a nice muslin would work really good. Or I like the really fun prints and patterns. I love batik. So, and I just cut these up in whatever size. You can rip them or tear them. You can see the little edge has got it's kind of torn. But those, once you put the beeswax on it, there's not going to be it's not going to unravel or anything like that. So it's going to stay just exactly the way it is. The beeswax holds everything together. So I've got different sizes. Some of these are a little bit bigger than others for different size bowls. The little one's really good for soup bowls and things like that, cereal bowls. These are for a little bit bigger bowl. I even am going to do one that's quite large, larger than I would normally do, which is for my lasagna pan, because we've always got leftover lasagna and I never have anything big enough to cover it. So, and this will also work on like a big 8-quart mixing bowl or something, because they're really big. But so you're going to need some fabric, and then you are going to need an iron. I like my grandma's iron that's like 50 years old, but we love it. It works great, and she's a workhorse. Also, you're going to need beeswax. I recommend a really good quality beeswax. We buy ours from a local apiary where we get our honey, and I buy it in big chunks so I can break it up, use as much as I need. We make all kinds of projects with beeswax, so I buy quite a bit at a time. And you're going to need some sort of grater if you have your beeswax in chunks. So you can grate it up to get it pretty small, or you can also buy your beeswax. You don't have to buy it in chunks. You can buy it in these little teeny pellets, like a pellet form, and that works really well in this project too, because we're just basically going to make them small like that. And a pair of scissors to cut your fabric. You're also going to need a baking sheet. A pretty good size, like cookie sheet style thing with a little lip on the side. So if your beeswax kind of runs at all, it's not going to run all over the table or the cloth or whatever you're doing this on. So ruin your ironing board or something. And you're going to need some sort of like baking paper. You can use wax paper or freezer paper or whatever you want to use. I like parchment paper, and it's something we always have in the house. Okay, so we're just going to put a piece of our parchment paper on here. Just cover the pan, just so if anything seeps out, it will kind of stay on the paper, because the beeswax is kind of hard to get off the pan, and it's easier to peel the fabric off of this because it's kind of going to stick. And then I'm going to take my really big piece of cloth to get started with, and we're going to fold that in. I'm just going to fold it in quarters so it fits on the pan underneath the underneath the paper, because we're going to cover the top of with paper. So you're just going to take a chunk of your beeswax and you're going to kind of grate it on there. It doesn't have to be really tiny pieces. I mean, you can use whichever side of the grater or however you want to do it, because you can buy this in pellet form, which is little chunks, and you could just do it that way without breaking them up or anything. There are a bunch of different ways to do this, but this seems to be about the easiest. Just going to grate that wax right on there. It's a little sticky. And we're going to spread it out and on the fabric. Try to get it all up on top of the fabric so it goes in the fabric and not just flying around the pan. And you can like grate this into a bowl or whatever, but it sticks to the bowl, so I find this is the least waste. And then probably going to need a little bit more than that. So just grate this on there. If you have too much, that's okay. You can like add another layer of fabric to it, and it will soak it up into the other layer. So it's okay to get it around a little bit. So, and then once you've got it covered, you want to get it kind of evenly covered around. You can take your other piece of parchment paper, and we're just going to lay it right over the top. And you should have your iron all heated up. So, that paper curls up, makes me a little crazy. But your iron should be all heated up. So you're just going to kind of sandwich this together. And you just heat your iron up to medium heat. You don't want it too hot. You don't want it too cold. The beeswax melts at a pretty low temperature, so you can see it melting underneath. And you're just gonna get this all melted, and it will melt down through the layers. And when we open this up, we can check. Once it's all melted and we can't see any chunks, we're gonna peel this top off and check to see how it's doing. So see how fast that is? This is crazy easy. Okay, so we can see over here it's kind of dry on the edges. It's pretty wet here in the middle. We're going to put some more wax on there. I'm going to try this and see how it does. Get that on there. And we'll put our paper back on top. And we're going to move this a little bit of it over to the edge. Make sure we're getting all our edges, because we want this entire thing to have beeswax on it. All the way through all 4 layers. So we're just going to iron this some more, melt this stuff right up. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Can't see any more of the chunks. We're going to peel our top off. And we're going to look, and this is looking pretty saturated all the way through. Got a little bit more over here on this end that's kind of dry, so we'll give it a little more. Right up here. Move these around. Some of your beeswax is going to stick to the paper, so like your next one, you can, it'll melt into the fabric for as it goes. Just bring this right down. And all nice and melty. There. So now I can kind of see the beeswax kind of smushing around underneath. So we might have a little bit more than we want. So this is where I can show you. You can do your next piece and grab another piece of fabric and lay it right on there where you have that extra wax and iron it some more. And you're going to get that wax right into that top piece of fabric. It's going to soak up all the extra. So see a whole bunch of the extra wax has gone into this piece. So you've got your big sheet all filled with wax, and now that is it. It's pretty hot and it's pretty wet, so we're going to take this and throw it over on the empty dish strainer just to give it a chance to dry up a little bit, and you'll see that it gets nice and stiff. And we're going to keep going with these other fabrics. We got our little bowl covers here that we made. You can see they're stiff and they're perfect. So when you've got your little snacks, some leftovers in there, you're just going to put your bowl cover on, and the heat from your hand is going to form it down to the bowl. So then you've got these great little covers. You just hold on to them for a couple seconds. The heat from your hand will make it stick, and then you have your little bowl cover. Nothing's coming out. It's all covered up, sealed, closed up. You can toss it in the cabinet. If you had, leftovers, whatever, throw it right in the fridge. These are so handy, and I so much love these. And thank you for joining me today. Bye.